This is our 1952 John Deere Model B, or BW if you want to call it that, because it has a wide front end. We've had this tractor for 10 years. We got it back in 2012 and runs really good. It's a very good tractor for us, and we are selling it. Not because we want to, really, but because the family of the original owner, the person who bought this tractor brand new back in 1952, tracked us down and have asked to buy this tractor back. My dad said, I don't really want to sell it. It's not really for sale. Why don't you buy another B? And they said, we don't want another B. We want this one because of the sentimental value that it has. So after thinking a lot about it, my dad agreed. Don't really pay attention to that back wheel right there. We had to take it off, and we're in the process of pushing it back on right now.
I'm kind of glad, although I found I'm kind of attached to this old tractor. It was hard. As I pulled out some pictures, I'll show them to you. But I just was cutting hay, and into the field comes this man that I had no clue who he was. And come to find out,
I didn't have a gun or anything, did I?
No.
Okay.
I had no gun. But then you said, I can't remember, you just said, I'm looking for an old tractor, or do you restore tractors?
Yeah.
And one thing led to another, and I said, where are you from? And you said, Treasurton. I says, well, I think I probably have the tractor.
Now
tell me a little about why you want this.
Okay. Well, my grandfather, he ran this place till 1947, when my dad took it over after he got out of the Navy, after World War II. And my grandfather bought 40 acres in Preston, a dairy farm. And he bought this tractor to run that dairy, to mow hay mainly on that dairy farm for the dairy. And then he also used it, I'm sure he used it in sugar beets and several other row crops they may have had back then for a while. And so Grandpa, he farmed until about 1976, somewhere there. And my dad and mother farmed this farm here. This is a 650 acre dry farm wheat farm here, back into here.
Oh, so your dad owned
Well, he bought this farm from my grandfather.
Oh, okay.
My grandfather lived here, and then he sold it to my dad, and Grandpa moved to town and got the dairy farm, and my dad and mother took over this farm here. Okay. And about, like I say, at about I don't know for sure, somewhere about 1970 or 69 or somewhere there, Grandpa's health got so he couldn't irrigate anymore. That was when they were flood irrigating all the time.
Yeah.
And so Dad and Mother took over the Preston place, in addition to this. And about that same time, Dad got into the sheep business here. So we used that farm in there. Grandpa sold the cows, and we grew alfalfa in there for the sheep out here here in the winter. And so we kept, as soon as I got old enough I was driving this thing at 12 years old, helping Grandpa in there. And so then when we got, we was cutting that hay with just a mower and a side delivery rake for years. And then we started getting somebody to cut it with a swather. So Dad moved the tractor out to here, and we used it on this farm here, along with the old Model G that was here. My grandfather bought in 1938.
Oh, okay.
And that's the other one I'm getting restored right now. And so when I live in Bountiful.
Yeah.
So during the summer, I'd send each one of our kids up here for 2 weeks to live with Grandma and Grandpa. And so Grandpa, my kids, especially my younger ones, Grandpa was on that tractor with them all the time, riding all over the place with it.
On this farm.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Doing some work here and doing light work because we had a D4 Caterpillar that we did most of the steep side hill stuff with. But the small one, he could pull a 3-bottom plow with this B. And so and then Dad's health in about 1974, Dad got the disease called Guillain-Barré. It's a nerve thing, and they didn't know what it was for a long time. They put him in the VA hospital, and finally figured it out. But he never did come out of it fully, so he couldn't farm anymore. So at that point in time, Dad started leasing the farm here to one of the neighbors, and basically the tractor was parked, except when the kids would come up, Dad could still get on it and drive it up and down the road and give them all a ride all the time, whatever. And but mainly parked. And then I moved back to Pennsylvania for a few years, and when I came back, it had been parked here enough that it wouldn't start. Okay, the starter or something was totally gone, and I tried to pull it and everything else, and it'd turn over, but it wasn't firing. And so Dad sold the tractor to Johnson.
Okay.
To the Johnson kid, and he was supposedly getting it running, and I don't know how much he did or what to it before you got it.
Whatever he did, it wasn't good.
Okay.
Because when we got it, he had taken it to a school, to the school shop or somewhere, and he said he had done some stuff to it, but it wasn't done.
Was it
right.
actually running though?
No.
It wasn't even running yet.
It was in parts.
Oh, in parts when you got it.
We got a bunch of parts. Although the tractor, we rolled it on this trailer as best we could. It wouldn't fit between these fenders, so it was hanging out on the back, and everything was flat. I have some pictures, and so that's how we got it. And so now I understand how it happened. So actually, this tractor's back home.
Yes. Well, home originally was in Preston on the 40 acres there.
But
My
it's spent
grandfather's.
some time here.
Oh, it's been 30 years here.
Yeah.
On this farm. So anyway, I talked to the Johnson kid, and he said, well, I sold it to somebody in Paradise, but he couldn't figure out who you were or anything. So I just started driving down through Paradise that morning, and there was a guy you're going into Paradise on the left, about the first house. He was out there mowing his parking strip out there by the road. I talked to him, I said, do you know anybody that's got an old John Deere like that? No. I said, how about, do you know anybody that fixes tractors or anything? Oh yeah, this guy down there in Avon does it. So somewhere down in Avon, he didn't know where it was either. But I went down to Avon, and I went down to the corner, and then where the road goes that way and then makes another corner where your field is. Well, there was people in that yard right there, and I said, and the first guy gave me your name though.
Oh.
But he didn't know where you lived. And so I asked those people, oh yeah, that's Tom, he's out there on that swather right out there. Of all things. So that's where I showed up. So.
Well, yeah.
But I just want to reiterate, Tom, and what's your name again? I didn't get your name.
Susan.
Susan. Our family really appreciates. They're coming this afternoon and the weekend, and so we'll probably hook a wagon onto them and run them up and down the road and whatever.
Yeah.
And we don't farm with it anymore because I've sold the dry farm here when my mother died. I own the house and this down in here, but when my mother passed away, she gave it to my sister and my sister didn't want anything to do with it. So one of the typical family problems, you got to sell because I didn't have enough money to buy her out, so we had to
Yeah.
we had to sell.
Yeah.
And so we, but
But you still own a couple acres here?
well, I own 2 acres here and 30 down here in the bottomland,
Oh,
up
okay.
in this bottom down in here.
Oh, okay.
And so it's I haven't told any of my kids about it, so it's going to be a surprise today and tomorrow when they come up and see it parked down here in the driveway.
Well, like I say, it was kind of a tough deal for me. I had all my letter tractors. You know, I told you that I finally got all 8 of them, and I got them all out. And then I was working on this. I thought, well, I've got to do the best I can.
This is the LA. This is the little H. Then we come over here to the M. He really likes all of these letter tractors. After the M, then we come to the wide front end B. And oh, it's a sad day in 2 days. When he sells that, it will be tough. First John Deere tractor that he's ever sold. But the man whose grandfather owned this tractor has been looking all over from Idaho to the south end of Cache Valley for this tractor. So goodbye. Goodbye, little bee. Well, not so little, but look at that. He's put a lot of work into this one. And he was sad today as he sat on it, knowing that it will soon not be his anymore. But he and Joseph will find another bee. Hopefully it will be a wide end one. And then they will go to work on it and make it look like this, because this was a very junky looking tractor when he bought it back in 2012, 10 years ago. Then we come to the John Deere D. We're going in order from the smallest to the largest, so I have to back up to get all this in. And that one you have to start by hand, I believe. I'm not sure. I know the H you have to start by hand. Here's a John Deere A. And I'm just too close to be able to get it all in. See the tires, how big they are? Wow. And then here's the John Deere G that he just got last November. And then to complete his letter tractor collection, he picked up this John Deere R, the one he didn't think he would ever find because it's so rare. And he got that in October. So there we have it. All 8 of the John Deere letter tractors, all lined up from the smallest to the largest.